Alright, I'm way behind on this one too, much like my Far Cry New Dawn coverage, but here we go anyways. This is a first impressions video for Metro Exodus. To be clear, it's not a full review. I'm currently working on a full review, but there's more for me to play and a lot more digging to do before I can really complete it. And because of the depth that Metro Exodus has, it would either be a really long review, which I don't like doing as much, or I could break it up into two parts with a first impressions video covering some more of the surface level stuff, and then a deeper, more comprehensive review later on down the line. Let's get started. Metro Exodus is flat out fantastic, but stop right there. If you are at all interested in trying the game out, maybe because of good reviews or recommendations or any other reason really, if you have not played Metro Last Light or Metro 2033, try those first, seriously. Not only will they give you a perfect snapshot of whether or not the gameplay is for you for a fraction of the cost as well, but they will also help build up a sense of meaning in the world, with rich lore and a well-crafted storyline. Basically playing Metro Exodus without having either read up on the Metro franchise and all of the different world elements and the lore, or without having played the previous installments, you are doing something akin to reading the third Lord of the Rings book without having read the first two. It's not a good idea, trust me. I didn't finish either Metro 2033 or Last Light, and I regret it a lot, like a whole bunch. Don't be like me. Both the previous games are good and super cheap, and have decently long campaigns that hold up well today. But yeah, enough on that. Now for Metro Exodus itself. Setting aside the controversy of Deep Silver's last-minute retraction off of Steam and the timed exclusive deal with Epic Games, which sucks a lot, but moving past that though, the game itself is phenomenal. It's pretty much exactly the same type of gameplay that Metro fans have come to know and expect, with some slight variations, but nothing too big on a foundational level. When jumping in, you immediately encounter the same traditional format of, here you are with plenty of gear in a scripted mission, get your bearings, and then, oops, your gear's gone, start over. It's a tired old video game trope, and it's not as bad as Last Light, at least, where you select the weapons that you want and go out as if the game has truly started, and then boom, you lose it and you have nothing and you start over, haha, tricked you. But I do genuinely wish that they would just stop doing it completely. Still, it is what it is, and it's not very long until the game really starts and you're free to roam around some pseudo-open world segments with various location objectives, biomes, and a good amount of freedom. At this point, the game really opens up and the things that make it truly great begin to emerge. Metro Exodus excels at character building. If I had to rate my all-time favorite video game characters, many of the ones seen in Metro would be in the running, but Anna would probably be at least a frontrunner. The game has a non-traditional take on companions in the sense that they don't just blindly follow you around. Instead, you can find some of your comrades in safe houses dispersed across the landscape, with dialogue and lore exchanged while visiting them, and Anna will often take an elevated position and provide cover for you, or collaborate with information as you fulfill objectives. In an industry where the norm is companions attached at the hip as if they have no autonomy whatsoever and simply follow you around shooting what you shoot, the Metro series does a great job building characters up as their own individual beings, with lives, goals, tactics, and motivations. They aren't always with you, but when they are often very valuable, and it feels much more meaningful to interact with NPCs in Metro Exodus than many other games I have recently played. In a sense, the entire concept of Metro, a post-apocalyptic wasteland where most of the human race has died off already, lends itself well to this emotional emphasis, but having a wonderful concept in no way guarantees wonderful execution, so Metro realizing the intrinsic potential of its world and lore is something to be recognized and praised. Another highlight of Metro's storytelling becomes very obvious early on, and that is scripted events. They don't feel scripted, though. At times, a ghoul will jump out and attack you from behind a doorway, or an ambush will take place as enemies emerge from your surroundings, and these types of encounters are highly scripted since the ghoul was placed there intentionally as to be triggered when you approach, but it does not feel contrived. In fact, some of these scripted events feel so organic, it just increases the sense of danger to a point where the immersion is so palpable that it can elicit a near physical response. There were a couple points where mutant spiders would crawl across my character's arms and even mask. I physically squirmed. And yes, I hate spiders in real life, but this was deeper than that, since I never really have such a primal reaction in other games. The atmosphere is so well developed that these spiders, with the creepy sound that they make, scampering across my character, actually breached the barrier of the screen and made me shiver. It was not a good feeling, it felt gross actually, but games should not always be crafted so that they make us feel rosy and peachy. That's not how artistic vision works. art is successful when it accomplishes its goal of provoking a response, whatever that response may be. And in this case, the response was a feeling of disgust or unrest as a vile little creature skitters around on your character. Moving past even the intentionally scripted moments, Metro is filled with encounters that are unscripted yet so dynamic that they flat out could be. At one point I was fighting some ghouls and feeling very defeated because it was a tough encounter. There were a lot of them and I had an autosave at an inopportune time, but as I loaded in one time after trying, multiple different instances of it, one of the czarfish, I might be pronouncing that incorrectly, but oh well, leaps up onto land, mauling two of the ghouls, and retreats back into the deep like something straight out of a movie. But it was a completely real-time, non-cutscene event, right out in the open. Because of these types of moments and how frequently they occur, Metro Exodus consistently delivers a sense of anticipation as you explore the beautifully crafted maps. The artistry also extends past topography to every single facet of the game. Individual characters' armor, for instance, has unique elements and personality to it. Some of the buildings are unbelievable, and all of it, the entire environment top to bottom, is built in such a way as to organically guide you through the game without any sort of stereotypical over-casualized hand-holding. It can be quite annoying once in a while when you don't know where to go or how to advance an objective, but at those moments, the times where it does become irritating as you think to yourself, what should I do? Why won't it tell me? Where do I need to go? It becomes increasingly clear just how successful the vast majority of the game really is when it comes to subtle hints that help players progress without a giant blue symbol pointing directly to whatever they need to do next or whatever. There is a compass with an objective indicator on it, which you unlock fairly quickly, but it's just the right amount of guidance. And for every instance where you get confused about what to do or where to go, there are a dozen more where you subconsciously know exactly where to go, even in a complex environment, without actually being explicitly told about it. And that is truly beautiful design. Another thing I want to address in this video, though in a relatively small way, is the inventory and the crafting. The inventory is amazing. The idea of a mobile crafting station backpack with this realistic sense of I am carrying all this salvage on my back and modifying weapons or equipment as I need to because I'm this badass survivalist, it's fantastic. It also made me remember the inventory system in a game called The Forest, where you lay out your materials on this blanket in a very similar way, and I just kept thinking every time I opened the backpack in Metro Exodus, why the hell can't more games just learn from this? This is how an inventory should be. Now we have to discuss one of the biggest and most immediate flaws. The thing is, this flaw has less to do with the game itself and more to do with a platform-specific issue. Metro Exodus, specifically on console, has an input lag problem. There's a semi-effective fix for this, which involves going into your actual console and controller settings and turning down aim acceleration, lowering the controller dead zone, and then tweaking your aim assist strength in the actual game. But even when you have fiddled with these settings, it's still not ideal. I strongly advise taking the time to adjust all of those different things before really getting started, because it does help, but even if you optimize them perfectly, the game still has serious issues on console. It's like you're in quicksand some of the time, and when aiming, since there is this horrible delay, it becomes very difficult to make quick reflex aim adjustments. The issue is not nearly as present on PC, and I was unable to record PC footage to do a comparative analysis frame by frame, but it is readily apparent after even a matter of minutes that the game is best experienced on a gaming PC, and while it is functional on console, it truly damages the experience to not have the character respond in a crisp and clean way. Because of these console-specific problems, I was forced to lower the difficulty in order to compensate for them. Now, the issue with that is that the higher difficulties feel better than the lower tier settings because of loot scarcity. It really helps build up the idea of a post-apocalyptic survival narrative where every fight matters and every piece of scrap is useful. But since the higher difficulties appear to modify enemy health in a significant way, unless you're landing explicitly headshots, and pair that with the sluggish console controls, it became really uncomfortable. When lowering the difficulty, however, loot becomes more plentiful and body shot damage is not as punishing, but it detracts from the overall sense of urgency, and it felt like there was no proper setting to enjoy the game the way I wanted to. I would have preferred a hardcore level difficulty for loot and salvage, but an easy setting for body shot and headshot multipliers. As for pacing, overall, Metro Exodus is slow. really slow. There are a ton of cutscenes, a metric dickload of dialogue, and if slow-paced narrative-driven games are for you, if that's what you enjoy, the game will likely blow you away completely. But if you want fast-paced run-and-gun action, it isn't quite as packed in that department. That being said, if you set out to play the game in such a way, it's possible to do. So again, we see a situation where the player is steered towards a specific playstyle, which involves careful planning, some stealth, all with slow navigation and pacing, but it's not outright forced upon you, which is a very good thing. Overall, my first impressions of Metro Exodus are that it takes on a segmented open-world approach with intricate environments, amazingly crafted quests, and a fantastic execution of the post-apocalyptic concept. There are some NPC bugs, they phase through walls, and honestly, the enemies are really stupid sometimes, but that's probably a side effect of having to balance them with stealth specifically in mind. So in terms of glitches and bugs, it can break the phenomenal immersion when a bad one occurs, but I won't be penalizing the game too harshly for them because nearly everything else is just so excellent. It's a great game, and I will be doing a much more in-depth full review, but that will certainly take quite a bit of time, so in the interim, I'll be producing other material while I gather everything together. But again, overall, a beautiful game, if admittedly an extremely flawed console experience. But that's it, enough for today. If you want to support the channel, check out the links down below. We have merchandise, various social communities, and some other stuff too, but I'll cut it there and I'll stop rambling. The video is long enough already. Thank you all for watching, and have a nice night.